What was it? Three reasons why you why you let people push you around. One is lack of standards, so not knowing where you stand, what's your upper limit, what's your lower limit. Two is not really knowing how to communicate, so communicating actually how you're feeling in a way that the other person can respond well to. And number three, which stops most people from stopping other people from pushing them around, is fear. So we're going to talk about that on here. Most people let other people push them around because of one of three things. Just think of the situation. You might be in a situation where it's not just when I mean relationships, I don't just mean like you're dating someone and it's happy ever after. I mean relationship like how you and I are in a relationship right now. You're watching this video, so we're officially in a relationship. If you go buy a movie ticket, in that short amount of time, in this video, when I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about two people communicating or exchanging value in some way. So the thing to note about this is that it does extend to your romantic relationships, but it also might extend to maybe relationships with your parents, or maybe relationships with your friends, or maybe just relationships dealing with, getting what you want out of life just in general, or sometimes also relationships with yourself. So the first thing that really gets in the way of a lot of people is our standards. Now, when I talk about standards, I don't mean like standards like, I want a man who treats me right. What I'm talking about is your upper limit and your lower limit of how you think you deserve to be treated. Now, some people have an upper limit and lower limit just based off their experiences. What I like to say is that we should always turn our mistakes into standards, but sometimes that's mistakes about lower limits. Now, with myself, I, for example, was hurt by a girl a very long time ago, and I decided that I never wanted to be treated that way ever again. Suddenly, my lower limit was immensely, just moved up massively because I decided that was never going to happen ever again, and that ultimately led me down the path to being a dating coach. With yourself, you might have a standard where, you just want a guy who wants to treat you nicely, but we want to take it a little bit further. Like, why do you want a guy that treats you nicely? How nicely? If you want a guy to treat you nicely, you could just go down to the shops and ask someone to, where's the bacon? And that guy will treat you nicely. But how nice do you want to be treated? That's the thing. Now, yeah, exactly. Like, what is nice? Like, what is nice to you? We need to define these things and get really specific, because if you're not specific, then you're just going to get pushed around again. Now, the upper limit is purely mental. And this is why I love coaching, and this is why I love workshops and stuff like that, is because we get to break that upper limit. In some way, we have in some way, we have a upper limit that we think that we deserve. Like, oh no, that's too good for us. That's too much for us. Like, I couldn't possibly deserve that, because if it was above what we're comfortable with, it might mean we have to change in some way. And so that's the thing. It's like there is actually no upper limit to your standards, because one day in the past, maybe if you were learning to drive a car, driving a car was actually hard for you. But then later on, you learned how to drive a car and you broke past that. So upper limits can always be broken past. But lower limits, you should always figure out actually how you want to be treated and make that a standard. Now, the difference between a standard and an expectation is that a standard is pretty much something you assume is normal. Like, for example, our bodies need water, right? So it's almost a standard that we drink water. But if I was to say you can't drink water for a week, you're going to change that. It's almost like I'm insane for saying that. So that's really the easiest way to describe what a standard is. Now, the second reason that we let people push us around is lack of communication skills. And when I mean lack of communication skills, like, everyone is trying. Have you ever known someone who, when you've done something, they've actually become a little bit more of a recluse? Now, you might think they're actually becoming a bit rude, or they're not actually telling you how they're feeling. What that actually means in that moment is they're not actually being recluse. What's actually happening is that they're trying to communicate something to you, but they just don't know how. Communication skills doesn't always mean using your words, but communication skills can actually mean using your body, using your distance, using your space, using lack of space, learning when someone actually needs you in their life, like being more with them, if you need space from someone, naturally moving away. Now, communication skills are incredibly important because, as I like to say, You can say the right thing in the wrong way, and that's still the wrong thing. I've had often people that they come to me and they're trying to tell their boyfriend actually that they want to be treated in a certain way, and I ask them actually how they're saying that. And what happens is they're actually saying it in a way that their boyfriend doesn't physically understand. And sometimes some people don't value communication like words, so you might have to alter the way you communicate. Sometimes you might be lucky that you might actually be dating someone, or you might be about to date someone who actually can understand words at that level. I'm someone that if you're talking to me, you need to use your words, you need to be very explicit. And I'll make sure that happens because that's my standard. I won't accept anything less. The number 3 reason, and I could probably make a whole video on this, is fear. Is that we're afraid of what might happen if we stand up for ourselves. Or we're afraid of if we do something that might upset someone else, what does that mean? What does that mean about us? What does that mean about them? What does that mean about the world? And most people live in a sort of comfort zone. Whether that is a slightly more uncomfortable comfort zone where they justify that it's okay to be pushed around by other people because in that moment, at least they're making someone else happy, right? Fear also stems down from, if they hurt someone else, does that mean they're getting hurt? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, that doesn't always have to be the case. But one way to look at it is if you start to design the people that you want in your life. So when I mean design, I don't mean, like create them. But what I mean is you start to figure out what are your standards? What's your upper limit? What's your lower limit? Who do you want in your life? One of those things might be someone who can actually communicate well with you. One of those things might be someone who actually understands what you're going through so you don't have to be so afraid. And these things actually make a really big difference. Now, fear is one of those things that is stopping you. Is if there's someone that's happening in your life or someone that's pushing you around right now, or someone that you have an argument with and you can't stand up to them and you're afraid of what might happen, it's all about baby steps. That's the easiest way to put it. If you're afraid about the big things happening, then you need to show your subconscious mind, so not really it's a conscious thing, it's a subconscious thing, that it's okay to express yourself, that it's okay to move things forward. And this happens incrementally. There's one thing that one of my old mentors used to say to me all the time, and he used to say, improve every day by 1%. And that's basically the best way to get to 100%. We can't get to 100% really quickly, we just got to improve by 1%. If there's one thing that you can take from this video that is a positive takeaway, because I know we've talked about some really negative stuff here, I want you to know that this stuff that we've talked about is capable of being changed. That's the biggest thing, is that if you're suffering from someone pushing you around, it doesn't have to be that way. I find that there's 2 kinds of people. The first kind of person is someone who has a fixed mentality, that they think and they feel that everything the way it is the way it's going to be. Now, if you're watching this video at this extent, like to this moment, you're probably someone who's the second kind. And if you're a subscriber, if you follow me on Instagram, even the people I work with privately, they're all this person. You're someone who has a progress mindset. That means that you're capable of so much more, that you're capable of understanding that everything is capable of changing. So your standards, you're able to improve your standards, you're able to improve your communication skills, and you're able to conquer fear. So if you're able to take one thing away from this video, is that have a look at these 3 things. Have a look at if there's one of these things that jumps out at you, recognizing it is the first step. And once you recognize it, then you can move forward. And you can always private message me. I'm always available on Instagram at @GetHimHooked. We can talk about this. We can come up with a strategy for you. But honestly, it doesn't have to be this way. And the moment you decide that you want something more is the moment that it stops being this way, even if it's the smallest way, because this is all about improving every day by 1%. And all right, thank you. Make sure to leave a like if you like this video, and also make sure to subscribe for more videos about life and love and how the 2 have come together. All right, thank you.